Hello, are you? Can I help you? That's Cade. My brain shut off. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a really unique video for you that was recorded about a month ago as part of one of my streams over on Twitch. Twitch.tv/TyBrowGames, all good. And we had the unique pleasure of being able to interview Tanner, a.k.a. Amallah from Valko Studios, which is the incredible, creative, and twisted studio that brought us the game Labyrinthine. If you haven't played Labyrinthine, I highly recommend that you do. Play it with friends. That's where it's the funniest. And use Prox Chat. It's just so funny. So, myself, ToonaFeesh, ShipwreckxShaun, and BehavingBearly were able to toss a dozen or so questions at Amallah and get his unique take on the game from the other side of the looking glass as part of somebody at Valko who has QA'd this game and who loves it and the community that has been built around it all this time. We asked him a whole myriad of questions, some of them very serious, very targeted to the game development side of things, and some that were, I don't know how they made it onto the final Q&A sheet. I really don't. But we got him there. Anyway, so we were able to do the interview, and he was a wonderful sport the whole time. And so that's what I want to show you now is the interview that the four of us had with Tanner. And because I didn't set it up properly, as far as capturing the Discord and whatnot, we're just going to overlay the audio onto some gameplay because I couldn't get my head on straight. And it was just a dumpster fire if you were to watch just what was on stream. It's bad. Anyway, we're going to watch that now, and I hope you guys enjoy.
How you doing?
Good, good. How about you guys?
Doing fantastic.
Very well.
Good.
I don't know if you've met the rest of the crew. We have Bearly, TyBrow, and ShipwreckxShaun.
Yep, I think I've seen several streams with all of you through like Labyrinthine, Sea of Thieves, things like that.
Wow, I don't know if you know, but one of our favorite horror games, or mine anyway, is Labyrinthine. Mostly because I get to watch TyBrow get eaten by leeches and hear Bearly scream at the top of his lungs constantly. It's a very near and dear game to me.
Yeah, I have some.
It sounded a lot worse.
I have some statements, not so much questions about the choice of leeches of all things, but that's for a different time.
Yeah, makes sense.
Shall I start off our questions?
Yeah, go for it.
So my first question was, what were the inspiration that you used in creating the lore of the Labyrinth? There's a lot of different characters that are introduced throughout the chapters. I'm real curious, do you know what those inspirations were?
Well, I'm not sure how the original writer was inspired. There was one person before me. He did like the entire backstory and then wrote for chapters 1 through 4. And he also actually voiced Officer Mills in the tapes that you guys listened to throughout the first 3 chapters. He left for other projects well before my time with the studio, so I'm not sure where he got inspired. But for me personally, most of my inspiration was on his work. Because he crafted a really solid backstory. There were only a few things that Zach and I had to go back and rewrite a little bit, because Zach ended up writing the story for Chapter 5, and it didn't quite fit the original narrative that Jeff, the original writer, wrote. So he did write a great backstory, and it was a really good foundation for me to build off of when I started writing for Chapter 6 and some of the new content in the earlier chapters, like the new voice lines in chapters 1 through 4. So my inspiration was based primarily on his work and then the work Zach and I did to sort of rewrite a little bit of the backstory to make it fit a bit better.
Very cool. It's always nice to have that source material to work from.
Yeah, for sure.
The one thing that I've noticed that scares the bejesus out of me in this game is the audio. Is there like backmasking special techniques that make it scarier than it probably would be normally?
There's this concept, I think it's called spatial audio. I believe that's what the term is, at least. But it's where audio is set up in ways that you can tell what direction it's coming from. So to use leeches as an example, the squelching sounds that they make are attached to the actual leeches. So if you hear squelching to the left, that's where the leech is, rather than, say, a player walking up to an area with a leech and then that just have the sound play from wherever. The spatial audio really sets up the anxiety and other, fear that players feel when they approach an area that has like a jump scare or something. Another example is like in chapter 1, where you can hear the light bulbs in the lampposts blowing out over you.
Mm-hmm.
That audio effect, coupled with like the sudden loss of light, can create a pretty good scare for some people. So I'd say spatial audio is super important in games like this to sort of create that effect.
Yeah, but it's very effective, that's for sure.
Very.
Yes, it is.
I was just testing out my VR setup, which unfortunately I won't be able to run tonight, but it was 10 times scarier, I'm just telling you. But the audio made a huge difference there as well. But the one scare that gets me the most is just the simplest little ghost on a stick popping out. That gets me every time.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. I did ask Zach about Clarice, and apparently early on he just wanted a silly little ghost that would pop out of some hedges at the beginning of the game to kind of ease people into jump scares. And he specifically wanted it to play like a party favor kind of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And his friend Julian, who was the sound composer at the time, I believe he was the one who made it. And Zach just loved that sound coupled with the ghost popping out. But I don't think he thought it would be as popular as it is now. Because at the time it was internally just called Ghosty. He didn't expect that over time, after the game was released, the community would give it its own name, which is Clarice.
That's right, Clarice.
Yeah.
Hello, Clarice.
I think that was the inspiration the community brought in as
here.
well. Hello, Clarice.
Exactly.
So speaking of Clarice, then, has a backstory been given for Clarice yet?
I think just what is at the entrance of chapter 1, which is that they're just little ghosty cutouts that Johnny Honks decided to set up around the maze. You can even see like a pile of them on one of the boxes in the starter area, if I remember right.
And when is Clarice going to get her own spin-off series? That's the big question everybody wants to know.
Where is my windows?
Maybe if we do a sequel, we'll throw in a Clarice or two.
Clarice at the end of the world.
It's like at the end of the credits, there's that party favor sound from Clarice.
Yeah.
I got a few people I was happy to see.
Gets me every time.
According to Quit Nerd Raging, you can pick up Clarice cutouts at the beginning
There we go.
if you're using VR.
Yep, and you can swing it around at people.
We all need VR headsets, like now.
Oh,
I don't know
boy.
if the non-VR players can see that they're swinging around a Clarice thing is the thing, but it's still kind of funny from the VR perspective.
Yeah, see, all I know is that Tuna's just basically going to sit up near me and just be tossing things in my head the rest of the game. I mean, it's not like he doesn't already do that already with the glow sticks, so it's just going to be a new item.
Yeah.
So obviously, like you were talking about, like sound design and the things that the intention of causing anxiety or causing like unrest, whether it be the environment, the creatures, the player, whatever it is. The four of us kind of were wondering, obviously you're dealing with such anxiety inducing things and such like creeps. What is like your go-to karaoke song to kind of desensitize after a day of just horror?
Oh, what a segue.
That was a well done. I was wondering how we were going to do that one.
10 out of 10.
Thank you.
I actually haven't ever gone to karaoke because I can't sing, and it doesn't seem like
It's barely.
my kind of thing. But if I had to go, I would probably choose. There's this remix of Linkin Park's "In the End" with another song that someone made for a scam baiter I watched called Kitboga. And instead of the lyrics to "In the End," they overlaid a bunch of angry things the scammer was yelling at Kitboga during the call to create the song. I feel like that would be fun to karaoke, but my voice would probably hate me afterward.
lots of lemon tea and honey.
Yep,
You
there
know,
you go.
I've got a friend that does a Scream version of Toxic. That always brings the people around the corner when you're at the karaoke bar.
There you go.
Nerd says the song should be Tequila. It's one word. It's easy to remember.
There you go. Yep.
Tequila.
No, but that would be a cop-out. It would have to be something good.
I get that there. That's like how I like playing this game. Everyone else goes and tries to solve it and like, I will be the bait. Good luck. Don't follow the red line. That leads to the monster again.
I
There
love
you go.
we just sat there and we were just like, okay, this color, don't go with this color. There's bad things at the end of that color, and it's just like there's everything is at the end of the colors. We didn't do this well. So kind of on that, same thing with like the music. The other thing that we were like, we obviously, you know, we might have gotten a little goofy with some of these questions because we're the four of us and you've seen our streams before. So you know we can just become ridiculous. On the subject of music, if you could have any musician play a house party for you, who would it be and why?
2 people come to mind, so I'll have like 2 different answers. One, I feel like NF would be really cool to meet and listen to live, just because his music has a lot of like storytelling aspects to it. I could probably listen to that kind of stuff all day. And then the other person would probably be Wayne Brady. I feel like a lot of people would know him from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes.
Yeah,
He's also the fox on The Masked Singer, who took season 3. Like, I knew that voice right away because of Whose Line Is It
Whose
Anyways,
Line?
but I also got to see him as Aaron Burr in Hamilton.
Yeah, he's just like a musical and comedic genius. I could listen to him create like song parodies all day. So those 2 are probably who I would
I believe in
who I
that.
would hire to play a house party.
That would be a hell of a house party there. That's
Right?
You gonna go with your ska question, Sean?
I thought we were just gonna hold off on that just a little bit here and actually like come back with a few legit things first before we kind of derail it again. Besides, I want Ty to like somehow do it. He's been running with my questions in the best ways possible here. Like, you know, I feel
Here,
like I'm gonna be a
do you-
disappointment with how I read it.
Do you want me to like segue into a more like relevant question?
Sure, go for it.
So, when designing these levels, I'm sure this answer could be one, the other, or both. Which came first, the villain or the map?
I think you've nailed it. I think it's a mix of both. For some maze types, when you think of the map type initially, the right type of monster just immediately comes to mind. So let's take the castle, for example. When Zach was planning it out, he wanted it to be a European-style castle with a Dracula castle sort of influence, which brings us to the obvious choice of like a bat or a vampire. For something like the ruins, though, that one ended up replacing a different maze type that we had planned, and we didn't have a monster in mind for ruins as it was being designed. So that one came first. We actually had a monster created and animated back in, I think it was December of last year, because we planned to place it in Chapter 6, when we had a different plan for the ending section of it. But after a while, that plan, it would have taken much longer for us to develop than we wanted it to. So we put together a different plan for that part of the chapter, which ended up working better anyway. But that left us with an unused monster. So when Ruins came about, we decided to place that monster, which is called Creep, on it, and it ended up fitting pretty well in that environment. So in some cases, the monster can come first, in other cases, the map, and then in even other cases, they'll come about at the same time, I would say.
That is so cool. Because, like, some of those maps, I like, obviously there was the miner in the caves, and I was like, that seems like it was purpose-built. But then there was, like, in the forest, like, the like, Wendigo kind of creature, like, that seemed so, like, oh, I can't tell if they created this creature because they loved the idea and then we're like, well, we need a map for him or whatever. So thank you for answering that, because that's so cool. And I figured it was some blend of the two, but you never know.
Yeah, for sure.
That map, by the way, just the house. I mean, nothing ever happens in the house, but that was probably one I was on the edge of my seat more during that house in the forest than it was for any other area of the game. The rest of them were just a bunch of jump scares, and I jump, but I wasn't on edge as much as I was with that little house, you know.
Which is kind of funny because that chapter is meant to be more of a break to kind of relax you before the intensity of chapter 4.
There's so many noises and the doors are slamming and it's like you just feel like you're gonna get killed the whole time. Nothing ever. Yeah. So now that you guys have fully released Labyrinthine, what is the next project? Are you guys discussing the next project yet?
We've actually already started working on it. Shortly before Labyrinthine's full release, we started the artwork for it. As Mikhail and Zach were finishing up the programming side for what was needed for Labyrinthine's 1.0. So we've been working on it for a couple months. In reality, Mikhail's been working on a lot of the code behind the scenes for the past couple months, maybe a year or so, whenever there's been downtime for him. Like when we've been doing art stuff for the maze types, there wasn't really much for him to do. So he started working on the code aspect for the next project during that time. So right now we just have a lot of artwork that we need done for the next project, which will be another co-op horror game. I can't say a whole lot about it right now, except that it will play much differently to Labyrinthine. And we've actually teased the theme music for the game in our December dev blog, at the very bottom of it. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if we have like an estimated time on when it'll be ready, because we have a studio vacation next month where we're all meeting up, and then we'll have Christmas break the month after. So we're taking a bit of a break to sort of celebrate Labyrinthine's release and to help prevent any possible burnout from working so hard on the next game, because I've seen a lot of the art that the guys are doing and it's been pretty cool.
As you guys should. Like, it was interesting because when Tuna brought Labyrinthine to us, because like we have a little chat, and like if we have a game that we want to do, it's like, oh, like here's a quick little blurb about it, like whatever. And it was like, oh, it's this indie horror game. It looks really great. I think, you know, we played it for Halloween last year, and when you like, obviously, like you think indie game and you expect certain like bugs or things like that, things that you'll encounter. But for me, like I wasn't prepared for how frankly amazing it looked, even in that like space. Like Tuna like sat, like he was like, oh, like, you know, it's you know, it's this thing, like it's a really fun game, I'm really enjoying it. And I went in with the wrong expectations, because they were blown out of the water in the best possible way, because I remember the hedge maze, and I was like, oh my god, like this is so fleshed out, this creature is so incredible, and you just kind of have to figure it out as you go along. And I remember coming away from the hedge maze that night that we played, and like usually I'll just go straight to bed, whatever, but like I had to sit there and like reconfigure my brain for a minute, because my brain was just thinking in hedge maze mode the whole time, and it was genuinely frightening. And so that was the thing, was like I had to sit there for a minute before like head hit pillow and was just like, okay, we're gonna turn off the overactive imagination part that won't let me sleep, but at the same time like grasp the experience of what just happened, because that was so amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just had to unwind a bit after wandering around hedges for a while.
Detox from glow sticks and ferns.
There you go.
I think my favorite thing about it is it's a multiplayer horror game that's not a Phasmo clone. Nothing wrong with Phasmo or any of the clones, but it's nice to have something different.
Yeah, a lot of them do bring something new to the table, at least, which I like. Like, Demonologist isn't just Phas. They have different types of equipment. They have different jump scares and all that. So it is good seeing something new, but we definitely wanted to make something different. I actually think Zach started working on Labyrinthine before Phas even released, so I don't think there's been much influence between the two at all with how different the games are and when they started development.
Yeah, I do love the simplicity of it, but it's more than I would have expected because, like Ty, I had to go in after our first game and decompress. That night was difficult to get the swaying arborvitae hedges out of my dream.
So Pathfinder is telling me I need to ask about the Amallah suit.
Oh God.
The what?
Oh, what?
I don't know.
There's a bit of a story to this. I used to work at a call center long before I started playing Labyrinthine. I didn't even know what it was back then. And I have a group of friends that I met there that I'm still friends with today. And back then, we had a program called Slack that the whole call center used. Yeah, and
I'm having flashbacks to my call center days. Oh boy.
There we go. And then I don't know why it started, but there were some days where my group of friends would change their Slack names to my name and then used my profile picture. And then it started spreading across the floor. And since then, even after we've left the call center here on Discord, they've made different memes with my face on it. And so when I started working for Valko, when we did a cosmetic design contest, one of them plastered my Manor Portrait's face all over the template, and it ended up winning the competition.
Wow.
One of the winners,
it's
one of the 28. And it just hasn't been released yet, so I am the only one that legitimately wears it.
That's phenomenal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are there Easter eggs or hidden tributes that are still have yet to be found?
I don't believe so, but there are a couple things that haven't been widely found. I can think of probably 2 things in Chapter 1 that not many people have found. One of them is somewhat story related. And then there are some hidden messages in Chapters 1, 3, and 6 that not many people have deciphered.
All right. Challenge accepted.
Good luck.
So if you were to make a tabletop role-playing game out of Labyrinthine, this is a hypothetical, of course, what kind of character classes do you think there would be?
It definitely has to be a bard to play music to kind of soothe the anxiety.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than that, the only other thing that comes to mind is like a tactician sort of class. Someone that can plan out what you're doing. Someone that can figure out various puzzles or whatever that might come up during the RPG.
Like a code breaker.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Code breaker. Yeah. Those are the 2 major ones I can think of.
I think I'd want to be the one that can run the fastest.
Yeah, that didn't always work out for Barely. Speaking of those leeches, we'd be side by side, and I just have to be the slightly faster one.
I remember back to, I think, I can't remember the chapters off the top of my head, forgive me, but I think it was the leech map that it ended up becoming the map where I think we had to escape like that, like the sawmill. There was the creatures there, but then as we got along, there was like a giant crocodile or something. I cannot remember what happened that had me in absolute... Oh, I remember.
Oh.
It just popping up out of the water. It's like, what do you mean there's a crocodile? Pops up, grabs Barely. We hear Barely scream, and then Tuna's like,
Perfect
that
timing.
crocodile.
Yeah.
We figured someone might try to go to the water, and they're not supposed to, so we had to put something there to kind of deter it.
Kinda?
I was you made that for me. That was specifically for me.
Listen, I've seen people get eaten by that crocodile and still try to find something out in the water to do. So, kind of deter
Hey, welcome
people.
in a furry, join the chat.
I don't know if anybody has told you, but some people in this group who will remain nameless likes to break games and find out where all the little bind points are and things like that.
It's called
Oh yeah,
science.
I'm the same way. Yeah, science. That's
right.
what I would call it too. Yeah.
So we are the QA team that no one asks for.
Yep.
It's like, this group of guys called the Lore Lads are playing our game. It's like, we need to pull their keys right now.
Were they talking to Sea of Thieves or what?
Oh.
There's way too many times we broke that game. Let's just anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
In hilarious ways.
Oh God, yeah.
There's a rock in the Devil's Roar that my crew got us stuck in, and I tried to harpoon us out. Ship went flying. It was pretty funny.
Oh, yep.
Oh, okay.
Space
Yep.
program.
We know the launch. Yep.
Yep, that's what I called it too.
Space program. Yep.
So kind of off on the topic of like bugs and funny glitches in like games or like things that need work or whatever. What kind of, if any, what kind of upcoming work is planned for Labyrinthine? Any like, little extra chapters or side things?
For a while, nothing much, because we don't want to divert too much focus on the next game if we can help it. So I think the next update, if we were to do one, would probably be like Christmas cosmetics, or of course like bug fixes if anything comes up. And then it won't be until like after our next game is out that we make some new content for Labyrinthine, like maze types, cosmetics, monsters. We do plan on doing either story DLC or potentially a sequel in the future. That would probably just be later on down the line. Mainly because some of the guys, particularly Zach, has been working on Labyrinthine for like 5 years, maybe four or 5 years. So having like a different change of scenery would be good for a while.
One of the other things too that we all kind of were really curious about is, especially given how awesome the game is, and like you said, like there's like a team of people like dedicated working on it, like what is like the history of Valko as you know it?
So since I wasn't there from the start, a lot of my info will be secondhand from like talking with Zach and the other guys. But basically there was a time where Zach really wanted to give game development a try under a studio of his own. So he and one of his friends, Julian, who I think I mentioned earlier, he made the Clarice sound. They put their heads together to try to brainstorm some ideas of games that they wanted to make, as they tried to recruit some people to help them out. They went through several different ideas, and I think Zach has some of them written down still to take a look at in the future. And at some point, I think Zach came to the realization that there weren't a lot of co-op horror titles out there. There were some at the time, just not that many. So they thought about what was something that hasn't been done too often. And after a while, they couldn't really think of any or many horror games that have centered around mazes. From there, that's when work started to make something that they could show to potential crowdfunders, and then some people joined the team to do work on the project, and then some people would come and go as they had other projects come up or maybe had to go back to school, things like that. And then eventually a core team was formed that has worked on Labyrinthine ever since, which is Fabio, who does the sound design and also does some 3D art now. There's Batuhan, who's the lead 3D artist. Ozan, another 3D artist with Mohammed. Leonid is our monster artist. He's done some of the recent monsters like Marionette, Creep. I think he did the Nameless as well, Clown. Some of the new monsters are his work. And we've got Mikkel, our lead programmer. And we have Haley, who's our merch manager. So that's our core team as it is now. We've got it filled out pretty well. I think the only spot that will need filling in the future is animator, for like monster kill animations and other sorts of animations that we need doing.
So if there's any animators out there, get in contact with Tanner and
So you mentioned merch there before. So what is the next plushie to be offered? We know there's one after Clarice. I think it's out. Tuna's spoken about it. But is there another?
I don't think we have one in mind at the moment. Our Pigman plush was actually just extended until November 6th, so we can push to kind of complete his campaign. But something a lot of indie studios really get nervous about doing is pushing a ton of merch in such a short time.
Right.
Which is why we waited so long after Wickerman's campaign to release Pigman's. They were actually both ready to go at the same time, but when Wickerman's campaign started, Labyrinthine wasn't out of early access yet, but it was pretty close to full release. We didn't really want to push a second plush so soon after Wickerman's finished up until quite a while after full release. So it'll probably be a little while before we see a third plush, and choosing what it will be kind of hard. When I was marketing the Pigman plush, I actually did a sort of informal poll through Twitter replies to see what people wanted to see next.
Mhm.
And I think I had about 8 or 9 different plush ideas across like 7 or 8 replies. I think only 2 of the replies wanted the same thing. So I think it's going to be a little tough to choose what the third one will be. But at the very least, I think it's safe to say we can probably rule out the mosquitoes and leeches. Just because
No, if it's a leech, I will buy
boy.
4 of them right now. If it's a leech eating pie, I'll buy 100 of them.
And that's the thing, right? Like, totally unsolicited suggestion. I think it would be cool, like, that the camp counselor. You get Clarice, you get the Wickerman, and then round it out with the camp counselor. Bam. That's a nice little set right there.
There you go.
You know, and actually kind of, we're all like talking about like the leeches, the crocodiles, the things that freaked us out the most. Was there a particular monster in the game that like freaked you out the most? Even when it was like revealed to you, it's like, hey, here's the next monster, here's the monster I'm working on now, like built out, animated, whatever. Like, what was the one that was the freakiest or scariest to you?
I would say, even before I started working for the studio, the one that freaked me out was Pigman in Chapter 4, when I first came across him. Because I started playing the game when it was just the first 3 chapters, and then literally 3 weeks later, Chapter 4 came out. And I had completely avoided spoilers in the Discord. And when I went in, it was just seeing it for the first time. It kind of made me panic a bit when he rounded a corner. I didn't actually get a good look at him because I didn't adjust my brightness at all, so it was pretty dark. And I could have sworn that Pigman was wearing a dress. So my friends would just hear me say over and over, "Pig in a dress, pig in a dress, pig in a dress."
It's like,
It's a
And
song.
as he got closer, I could tell it's like a butcher's apron, and it was a freaky one. Past that, though, after I started working for the studio, I would say the one that creeps me out the most would probably be Spider in Chapter 6, I would say.
yeah. The mechanics of that
Yeah.
one was like, it wasn't as linear. That's what got me all like, that's what freaked me out. I expected things and they blew my expectations out of the water.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say too, when you were like, you know, I didn't get a good look at him because like, and I was like, because your like mouse was shaking, you were just running the other way. It's like, yeah, I
Oh,
didn't get a
no.
good look at like half these creatures for like the first like hour of gameplay because I was running away from them.
Swim away.
I don't know if you guys have played Devour yet, but they have an arachnophobia mode for their spider level.
Yeah.
And it turns them into like worm-looking things, and it's significantly more hilarious, but also a lot more terrifying. These worms, it's great though. Also, Nerd wants to know, since Pigman is your favorite, who is your second favorite?
Chat, if you guys have any
I
questions,
would say my
put them
first
in chat.
favorite is probably the Ash Oni. His design really reminds me of like a hollow from the animated show Bleach. You guys know that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
reminds me a lot of hollows from that show. So I would say that's my first favorite. I don't think Pigman's on my top 5. Sorry to say, Nerd. Yeah, the Nameless is also a pretty cool design, especially mechanic wise. It's just a insta kill. You don't get a chance to revive yourself. All right.
What are like, obviously we've asked you a lot about like the game related stuff, but like about you, like what are some of the things that like what are some of the things that you enjoy doing, just in general, even outside the studio, outside of work? What's something that you enjoy?
I would say first and foremost, just gaming, of course. My first game was, I think, Pokemon Red back in like 99 or 2000. And ever since then, I've just been hooked on all different kinds of games from, games like Sea of Thieves, where it's so heavily PvP focused. That also creates like wholesome moments with other crews if no one wants to PvP. To games like Kingdom Hearts that I've played since 2005, 2006, and I'll still play that series as long as they keep making the games.
Hopefully a new chapter end of this year, beginning of next, I think is what's due.
Oh, for Kingdom Hearts, I think Missing Link is coming at some point.
Yeah, that's where I've been.
Yeah.
You've got another person here that loves that game to death, even though they in the end, you're like, I'm not sure what's going on. Each time I try to go back and revisit the story, it keeps getting more confusing, but I still love it.
I think I'm one of the few people that followed along pretty well. The only thing I was confused about, and it's my fault entirely, was Kingdom Hearts 2 because I skipped Chain of Memories after trying to play it for like 15 minutes. The just card combat concept wasn't for me at all. I gave it 15 minutes, and then
like one of my favorite games. Like that,
it's not for me. Sorry to say.
I jumped into the
though.
franchise at 2.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that confused me, just because I skipped Chain of Memories. But I caught myself up, and ever since then, I haven't really had issues following the story, but that might be partially because I replay almost all of the games every couple of years, so it gets pretty ingrained in my mind every time I replay it.
Okay, treating it like you would like any Marvel series or something. If you go back to the beginning, watch it all in order, play it all in order.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of the same way with the Final Fantasy series. I love all the games. I got to 10 and I hated the underwater soccer game. Everybody else loves it. I couldn't stand it. And Kingdom Hearts is one of the games I always wanted to get into. Never actually played them, but I've been having a lot of fun watching you play it on stream, so I appreciate you streaming that.
Yeah, for sure.
And
plus you get to see Donald as a wizard.
yes.
Yeah.
You were mentioning like Sea of Thieves earlier. Have you played in a while, or have you been pretty active?
So I started playing, I want to say late 2019. So just before like the pandemic started. And I played for a good year and a half, almost straight, like almost every day. So I got really burnt out over it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the ghost?
So. A shrouded ghost? No, unfortunately
Thank goodness.
not.
I'd be really pissed off and jealous if he did.
Nobody tells Sean.
But yeah, after that year and a half, I took a couple months of a break here and there. I would come back, see what was new. I still go back every so often. I played it last week with a friend. We did the Monkey Island Tall Tales, and I did like some aspects of it. Didn't really feel super Sea of Thieves-y in other aspects, but overall it was still pretty decent. And when this season started, I have played a little bit since then, and I'll probably play more often as the season progresses. I just like to wait, usually like a week or two, for them to fix any bugs that come up. And there's quite a few this season from what I've experienced and what I've watched.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I shot myself out of a cannon and got 2 snipes. Look, in my first 2,000 hours of the game, I've had one of those. I had 2 on Friday, so it's all good.
Yeah, there was
just perfect right now.
a day or two after the season came out, my ship was on fire. I put it out, and every time I went on my ship, I would start taking burning damage, even though there was no fire anywhere. I thought, maybe they just installed heated planks or whatever. I went on an island, I started burning for no reason. And then, they just changed it to a desert island. I forgot about that too,
Before the roar was the roar.
Exactly.
It reminds me almost of just like that whole concept of like, oh, I put the fire out. Why am I still burning? I feel like that's like a like D&D moment. It's like the fire's out, so I'm not on fire anymore, DM. No, you're still on fire. You're still actively catching fire and just anxiety.
Exactly.
So I don't know that I necessarily have any more questions. I know we still have the one question.
That I feel like Sean has to ask.
Oh, Nerd wants to know what got you to play Labyrinthine for the first time.
Ooh.
So my friend Kovacs, they had it in their Steam store under their recommended tab, or whatever it is, and they posted it in our group Discord that we have with a few other friends from the call center I used to work at, and we decided to pick up the game and gave it a try. We almost put it down after trying to play for 30 minutes because back then it had just entered early access, like it was just released, and there were some bugs with the networking package that they used to use back then where it was hard to get connected, and sometimes if one person connected, another would get disconnected. But we tried for about 30 minutes, eventually got in, and we had to use Discord instead of proximity because that old voice package also wasn't really working very well. But as soon as we were able to start playing, we fell in love with it. Played all through the 3rd chapter and got really disappointed that we couldn't continue because there wasn't a chapter 4 yet. But that chapter 4 update, it had actually been delayed to fix all of the issues that we were experiencing. So as soon as we loaded in to start playing chapter 4, it was amazing that we never had any issues connecting to each other, and proximity voice was fixed, everything. And we finally got to chapter 4, and it was super claustrophobic. And from then on, I just thought that all the different environments that they could put into the game were really interesting and really creeped me out at the time. That's when I decided, yeah, I'm gonna join their Discord. I'll chat with people. And a couple months later, I got invited as a community mod, and then a year later, here I am.
So congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Talking to us 4 nerds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been an experience. I am very glad that the game showed up in my friend's recommended tab. I wouldn't go back and redo anything.
I love hearing those kinds of stories, like the happy accident stories that puts you in a really, you look back and you're like, I have no regrets with the kind of progression of this point, because you sometimes people try so hard to achieve a goal, they burn themselves out at it, and then sometimes if they just kind of let things take over, see where life takes them, and just be themselves, and just amazing things can truly happen. And for you, that was certainly, it sounds like what happened. You just kind of were passionate about a thing, and things just worked an amazing way for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what's the next game you're going to play on stream after Kingdom Hearts?
It's kind of tough. So what got me into streaming Kingdom Hearts
Yes, go
is
follow
I had
Amallah.
played the series and I found that it was on PlayStation Plus, so I could just stream it through PlayStation servers rather than have to dig out my PlayStation and try to get it set up on my capture card and all that. It was just all in PlayStation Plus. I think they call it PlayStation Now. So I would probably choose another game out of the PlayStation catalog, like the Sly Cooper franchise. Played. So I actually did not start with the first game in that franchise. When I was a kid, my mom found the second game in a garage sale, and she was like, well, play it for a few minutes. If you like it, I'll get you the first one. I loved it. Did not get the first one. So I need to I need to play the first one for the first time. And I feel like doing that on stream would be a good way to kickstart another franchise that I kind of grew up with. So that will probably be after Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I also picked it up at Sly 2. I never got to play Sly 1. I went straight to Sly 3 and was just like, oh my god, I need more. And then I got hooked on the Jak and Daxter trilogy. And that was another good one.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
I actually haven't played that one.
Oh, so good.
Might have to look into that too.
Mm-hmm. Speak of garage sale games, and I think that's how Crash Bandicoot got brought into my world. Is I just found Crash Bandicoot 2. It's you have a PlayStation, right? Here you go. Okay.
There you go.
So, with our love of music and just the really, really randomness that is us, the lore lads, For you, is ska just punk polka music?
I feel like that makes sense. I think it would need a different name though. Maybe like skunk or something. Ska
Skunk.
punk. I don't know if that's already used by another
awesome.
musical genre, but I feel like it would make sense.
That I have
Feels like a dance move.
Punk polka.
Yes.
Do the skunk. There you go.
Oh, I'm a big fan of like heavy metal and skunk. It's like, that's nice. What is that?
I don't really like those. They stink.
Not gonna lie, ska music is actually one of my favorite
Where is it?
genres.
Nice.
I think that's where my thought came from, because Tuna will put music on sometimes and people just haven't played polka all the time, and he's just happy as can be. I'm like, I think it's because it's just a step away from ska. It's all the happy brass.
Have you ever heard a ska song that sounds sad? You can listen to the lyrics; they may be like just
The worst
depressing as
thing
heck.
ever. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. The music is, you got the offbeat, you got the horns in the back. There's nothing depressing about it. It's fine.
So what you're saying is that's how all bad news should be given. With
Ska
ska
format.
played in the background.
Or polka.
Ska or hire a mariachi band or something. Yeah.
There you go. I'm literally have been sitting in a bar that happened to have ska show tunes, ska punk show tunes. It could be skunk show tunes. I don't know. But the entire bar begins singing, belting out, "Somewhere over the rainbow." And I'm just like, wow. I did not know that was a thing.
That's quite a. That's. I
That's
can't
a
even ask
community
you
right
what
there.
bar is it. You DM me later, but like, that just sounds like an experience.
It was definitely an experience. And it was the Black Eagle in Toronto.
Ooh.
Thank you to you and the devs for everything you've done for the community and obviously for the game. So
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I think that sentiment goes for all of us as well.
Agreed.
Oh, for sure.
It's hard to find a good horror game, especially a good co-op horror game. I think there's a few out there.
That doesn't
This
allow for
one-
betrayals other than just situations.
I mean,
Not that they haven't tried.
Yep.
I have a lot of jump scares that I've.
There were definitely some meat shield moments.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
But I think kind of off of that sentiment too, a comment that I had that we were talking about earlier about it being such a unique title in the horror game sphere. Like, I feel like Labyrinthine combines, like, it's a new, fresh experience, but it's got elements of other games people might be familiar with. Like, you have Phasmo, so like the whole concept of kind of solving the puzzle there makes sense, but also the idea of like a Dead by Daylight, where you got these 4 people that have to work together to solve this problem with the threat constantly bearing down on them. Like, people can get into Labyrinthine and enjoy the story without being overwhelmed by mechanics, because if you've played some of these other games, you'll be able to pick up the premise pretty quick as far as the control scheme. So I really enjoy the place that Labyrinthine has in that sphere, as limited as it is for me, because I scare so easily, so I can't play very many horror games. But it's so fantastic, and I certainly echo that sentiment of just thank you guys, all of Valko, for making such an amazing game and for sharing it with us, because that's the hardest part, I'm sure, is just opening it up to the public to just pick it apart or enjoy it or see what happens.
Yeah, that's every update. That's something that we're a bit nervous about, is opening up the new content floodgates, I guess you could call it, and seeing everyone's reactions to it. Seeing everyone's mostly positive reactions are amazing, but of course we do want to see like criticism where it's deserved as well. So it's just a bit nerve-wracking in that regard. We don't know what we're going to get each time we do a release, but yeah, I really appreciate those kinds of words. It's awesome.
Yep. Thanks for the fun.
Yeah, of course.
You guys have any more
Can't wait to
questions? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Don.
No, I was just saying I can't wait to see what you guys have next for us, and we'll wait patiently for those announcements.
I
Sounds
think you
exciting.
guys are gonna like it. I've seen what the guys are working on, especially Leonid, and it's something.
Ooh.
That's gonna be a good time. But I think it's safe to say, like, the four of us wave the Valko support cheerleader flag hard for you guys. So we are really excited to see what you guys are brewing, and we hope at some point, when it's getting to the point of trying it, my God, that's gonna be so fun to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
We'll be
Nerd
right
wants
there.
to know what's expected for Pigman Day. I don't know what that means.
So Pigman Day happens on February 31st every year, and if you log in, you get a Pigman suit that you can wear for that day only. And he missed it last year, unfortunate.
I'm putting it on my calendar right now.
February 31st. I love it.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Shenanigans!
So I actually did have one more question. I forgot to write it down and everything. Thought
Sure.
about it during the week.
Oh,
Do you guys,
Kabooby, I know that some of the other guys don't like to talk about,
as a
like,
content
drinking a
creator,
lot.
obviously we're always wanting to work more with studios and things like that. Do you guys have anything coming up in the future, either for Labyrinthine or future projects, to work with creators to try and help promote your products via, say, Twitch drops or anything in those regards?
So I have spoken with Zach about that a few times. Drops is something we would have to look into a bit more, mainly because we would need a way to deliver the cosmetics to people. We'd have to probably have some sort of like account system on a website to handle connecting people's Steam accounts with Labyrinthine installed to a service on our side to be able to deliver the cosmetics. Because I'm not sure if Steam does codes in a way that we would be able to deliver cosmetics that way. I think codes are more for like Steam inventory items, which we don't really use. I could be wrong. It's something we'd have to look into quite a bit. And I know some people have asked before about like a content creator program. We have talked about that a bit as well. At the moment, I don't think we have much we can offer creators to help them out in exchange for how they would help us by playing our game. So I'm not sure if that's something on our radar in the near future, but potentially later on down the line, we might revisit it and see what we can think up for you guys.
Okay. Yeah, just thought. I mean, I love the game either way.
Yeah.
Gotta ask the question.
I
Yeah,
love the
for
game
sure.
either way, but it'd be really cool. No.
No, hey, look. I mean, it's a great way, I think, to get your game's name out there more. If you get some, if you have 30 channels, 100 channels, 200 channels, whatever, all promoting it, what am I trying to say? Essentially for Twitch drops or whatever, it brings a lot of people into seeing the game. So it's just
Yeah, for sure.
it also brings people to our channels because then they get Twitch drops. So it's a win-win for everybody, I think.
I think
If it's
Yeah.
possible.
I think too, even if that like doesn't happen, the fun I've always sat there and I was like, even if I think the coolest thing if I ever got anything from like a studio or whatever would be like some kind of like cameo. Like imagine like there's just like the four, like it's like the lore lads like being like mentioned in like a picture frame somewhere. Like even those fun little things, like I love the fact that studios like Valko are so like they love the people who play their game. And it's clear too, and even in like the Discord and how engaged everybody is too.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm just vain enough to believe that it would be a bear man.
What I'm hearing is, we need a picture frame in your next game. Sorry, it has to happen now.
In specifically a house that's intended to be relaxing but is very anxiety inducing for one player in particular.
No, I will never go to the house.
So just make it be a fish on the wall that sings.
Oh,
I love that idea.
that would scare the crap out of me, probably.
Most
Well,
of
Amallah,
all,
I do appreciate you taking the time today. Honestly, I know we went a little longer than the 30 minutes or so we were originally planning, but I really do appreciate you taking the time and just getting to know you a little better and hearing about some future projects.
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
thank
for
you.
sure.
Yep,
It was
very fun.
it was a
Thank
good
you.
time. You guys had some really good questions and segues into those questions.
It was
I would say,
a
yes,
pleasure.
hats off to Ty on there.
Hey, it's not all me. It's not all me. But yeah, it was a pleasure, dude. Thanks so much for making the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you
Much
guys for having me.
appreciated.
You guys ready to dive some leeches?
Let's do it.
Oh boy.
Let's go.
Amallah, have a fantastic rest of your day.
Yeah, no
Yes.
problem. I'll
Cheers.
stick around and chat for a little bit, and
Yay.
I'll leave you guys to
Awesome.
it.
All right.
Alrighty.
Yep.
See if we can find the extras. No back seating though.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, nope, don't worry.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Stay no more.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
And that's that. I hope you guys really enjoyed that interview. We had a great time doing it. Again, thank you to Tanner and Valko Studios for being so awesome, for doing the interview, and for allowing us to stream that interview and then, of course, put it on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to do the cliche thing. Like, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. But if you do nothing else, please make sure you go follow the incredible people who were a part of this video on Twitch. Some of them are also here on YouTube. Their links will be in the description of the video down below. As always, everybody, keep being your most valid self. I'll see you next time. Think that was good? You're just tired. You don't care.